Story for this hour: Russia has rejected the use of sanctions or deployment of troops over the unrest in Syria. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov described the position of Western states on Syria as biased. He said Moscow would use its UN Security Council veto to block any proposals for military intervention in Syria if needed. The Russian Foreign Minister also dismissed the new Western sanctions against Iran. He said the U.S.-led measures are aimed at suffocating Iran's economy and instigating public discontent. Lavrov also warned against a military strike on Iran, describing the move as a catastrophe that would entail the severest consequences.
Of this catastrophe happening, you would have to ask those constantly mentioning it as an option that remains on the table.
University of Tehran Professor Mohammad Marandi has described Washington's efforts to push for sanctions on Tehran's oil exports as an act of war. Marandi says sanctions will not have a major effect on Iran.
What the United States is actually doing is it's waging a war on Iran. This is, as Ron Paul, the U.S. presidential candidate, has said, as an act of war to impose oil sanctions and sanctions on the Iranian central bank, not just for the United States and Europe itself, but to impose it upon third countries who wish to do business with Iran. In other words, the United States expects countries to get permission from it to deal with Iran. And this, I think, in the long run actually causes greater anger towards the United States among independent-minded people and people in independent countries. And I think it deteriorates the global hegemony of the United States, this sort of behavior. It will not have a major effect on Iran. Iran will continue to export its oil, and I think some of these countries will actually increase their import from Iran because they have an interest in a strong Iran as opposed in opposition to the United States. But if regimes in the region do try to help the United States in this illegal act to replace Iran from the oil market, then I think the Iranians will definitely see this as an act of aggression, and they will deal with those regimes accordingly.